Hey Eliza, alright, so here is your Starseed reading. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with relationships and feelings involved, another important day with relations and feelings, the death and lesson learned. And usually we get hints of time throughout, but for these, sometimes, most of the time, they're timeless. So let's see. So what's a little bit different about the Starseed versus past life is where we're going could be on Earth, but a different kind of realm or place, a hidden place. Or this can be off planet, interdimensional, that kind of thing. As far as the death, it could be a death, how we know it here as humans, or it could be a, what's it called, like a transfer of energy, because a lot of times we get it where, you know, death is not even a thing. But yeah, so what I'd like for you to do is just make connections where you can based off the images and impressions that are coming through already, and your job is going to be to try to make connections based off of what comes through and your current life, and I'll try to help however I can. Alright, so keep in mind that there are a couple of ways to make those connections. There's direct and opposite. So a direct connection is when you can directly connect or resonate with what's coming through, right? The opposite kind of connection would be, since our souls experience very different things, would be if, let's say, someone died in a past life or another time or a different aspect due to fire. They may come back in another aspect and be very afraid of flames or fire or things like that. So just keep in mind or be mindful of making connections in various ways, okay? You just might want to grab a notebook and pen. A lot of stuff comes out. And remember, it's for you to connect with and resonate with. Do not force it. And what you may not connect with, you want to tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because some things come up in the days, weeks, months, year later kind of thing, where it'll connect and click later and you'll be like, oh, that's what she's talking about. All right, so just keep that in mind. And we're going to go ahead and start. The first thing I want to say is that this life, first of all, that we are going to be getting into, had the feeling that it was an intermediary life, in the sense that it feels like this life was a hop, jump, skip to being human. As in, you came from another kind of aspect or life and said, I want to go here, as like almost like to dip your toe in the water of what it would be like. Almost like, here's the example, as a feeling of going from an aspect that didn't really feel much emotion to this aspect that was dipping toes in emotions, because being human is overwhelmingly emotional. So it feels like we're taking a hop, jump, skip in between to being human. Now, the reason this could be coming through, for example, would be in your current life, how you might connect is if you are someone that likes to dip your toe in rather than dive in to a new situation or an idea. So that could be a direct connection. An opposite connection would be like going full Monty into in a new direction, on a new path, and with a new idea, whatever it might be, you see? So there's like a couple of different ways we could be making connections already, and it could be metaphorical or literal. So, yeah. So that would just explain, in the case that you are someone that might be what people might say cautious, or you know, slower paced when it comes to making change, which is not bad. Everyone's at their own pace, and that's perfectly great. Or if again, dipping the toe. So that would be a direct connection. And if not, that's fine. Just tuck in the back of your mind. But what's coming through here is the aspect that we're going to be looking at has a masculine energy feel to him, but very balanced with feminine aspects, just in the way of being what we would consider, if we came across this kind of being energetic wise, if you were to like meet someone here on Earth, it would feel like that person is very comfortable to talk to, because it would be like a man who is very in tune and in touch with the feminine. So there's a feeling of no judgment and open discussion kind of feel. So I want to say, like, one, you could directly connect with this in the sense that that might be you too. In your current life, you might be someone that you find people feel very comfortable opening up with, and just like being themselves around you kind of thing. That could be a direct connection. But this can also have the feel that those might be the only kinds of people that you feel comfortable enough to open up with yourself. Like, rather than being someone that likes to share or overshare, or just like let someone get to know you. It's like you have to feel this level of comfort in order to open up. That would be a connection as well. And if not, the opposite would be if you're here as a human and you're just like, just blah, you know, like just puking up like your life story and how you feel, and there's nothing wrong with that. So there's no judgment here. It's just that would explain the opposite kind of connection, because this aspect, there's something about it that would require feeling a level of comfort with other people in order to open up yourself, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind, and also do know that when you feel the vibe of this comfort level, this energy signature we're talking about, where again it could be man or woman, you know, but we're looking at someone that would hold a dominantly masculine energy and in tune with the feminine energy, so that you don't feel judged. Even if they might be playful with you, you will not feel judged. It will just encourage you to open up. And I want to say almost that if you come across people like this, it's your tribe. Like I feel like they would be people that you might have known here or before, okay? It's like a very specific and awesome kind of vibe. And now here's the thing too. Another thing would be if you do not feel like you have met your tribe or met your people, or even if you find that you're in a relationship and you're feeling about it, it would be that you technically, if you were to cut out people that do not serve your best interests or growth, you would be essentially inviting in energies that do. And I feel like these energies would be your tribe. But it could very well be that you already met your tribe, you know what I mean? So there is just a concept coming up about meeting your kinds of people. So if you haven't yet, I would say just be patient and look around at anyone that you might consider is in your energy field that may be toxic or may make you, make it so that you feel like you cannot be yourself authentically or open up and express yourself in a certain way that would be genuine. That would be your cue to start to distance or cut energy ties. Now, if someone is coming to mind when I say that, you have to trust that your intuition is bringing forward that person to mind to let you know that's who we're talking about, if not more than one. If no one comes to mind, that is perfectly fine. You want to tuck in the back of your mind, because later on it might connect and click later. So just, you know, food for thought, take it with a grain of salt, that kind of thing. All right, so where we're going. So this card is always laid out for the Starseed readings. It's the Atlantis Lemuria card, and it's also a card of other worlds and other realms and that kind of thing, which is where we're going. The card that wanted to come through with it, like usually I don't lay another card with this, but this came through specifically with a feeling that the place we're looking at, as far as where this aspect has lived its time or its life or whatever, it feels like that place is no longer there, whether the people packed up and moved or whether it got destroyed, whatever it is, that place is no longer there to be considered, I want to say, habitable. So that came through specifically, and I feel like how you might connect with that, or why this might be coming up, would be in your current life. If you feel like you don't have a home or you can't find your home, this could be metaphorical or literal. And this can also be direct in the way where sometimes we find people reincarnate into a family or a situation when they're born into a situation or very young, where something echoes another life. So for example, if you were born into a family in this life or a situation that made it so it's like either you were abandoned, you had to leave. It could be the thing where like you moved a lot, or it could be where what you knew to be home in the very beginning is no longer there, as in people may have passed away, people may have deserted the family or you, that kind of thing. So connect with that, and if you can connect with that, it would be a direct connection. An opposite connection would be if you came into your human life and you're like, family, and this is my home, and it's the same house you know your whole life, and your parents are there, and like that kind of thing, where it's not abandoned, it's not disconnected from, it's not what's it called, like lost, we'll say, that it would still be there. So that would be the opposite connection. but this feels like it is coming through because there might be something. I just feel like it would be something. It's a feeling of missing something. So if you have a I'm missing something kind of thing, which could be lately, it could be your whole life, it could be coming up where it hits you, because in our spiritual awakening, in our journey, we go through phases. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, Eliza. So we go through phases, and if it hasn't hit you yet, you might go through a phase, we'll say, where you feel like I'm missing something. There's a link missing, and it could be having to do with this, or it could be having to do with this in the way where you are meant to kind of go down that rabbit hole of what's missing and where do I start walking to find what I don't even know what I'm missing, if that makes sense. Just that concept. So keep that in mind, and we're going to just keep going. I do want to mention, because this is a masculine energy, that you might be very tapped into your masculine energy or traits, as in like tomboy when you were younger or still. And there's something about this person. I'm going to actually go into what you did with the majority of your time here. I'm saying person, but this feels very much like we're looking at what we would call an alien being, because there's something about the skin tone color that is completely different. It's like teal, and with I'm sorry, okay, it's teal with it. If you were looking at the teal color, it would be more blue than green, but still teal, if that makes sense. So there's something about that. And then the thing is it's humanoid. So we're looking at, 2 legs and 2 arms and a chest and a head and that kind of thing. I almost want to say there's something about this where there's even hair, and I almost want to say a mane. So what you might want to consider looking into are what they call Lyrans, and usually I don't get a lot of like names for races because there's so many, but here we have like a list of the most popular ones, but there's so many, so oftentimes a name doesn't come through. But I would suggest looking into Lyran, only because this hair, the word mane comes through, like a lion's mane, and it's not like disorderly. It's very like, this is a very civilized looking being. I'll tell you. Okay, so the image coming through is like there's no like attire on the top, but there's something on the bottom, and there's something about a weapon that is carried, but it's not to be on the offensive. It would be like a safety mechanism or a defensive, if anything. Like this person feels, again, there's something like peaceable about this person, but also smart, like peaceable, but like aware and ready for action if necessary. So the hair itself though is specific because it feels like it's like pulled back, like it's kept. It's not like a mane, like raw mane all over hair, it's not like that. So this is not like an animal, but there's something about it that if we were to look at it face to face, we would see animalistic attributes within the features, we can say. So how you might connect with that would be if you've ever heard of Lyrans, you've ever been pulled to the Lyran thing. If not, I would say go ahead and Google it and look into it and see how you resonate with it. And if you don't, that's okay. But just know that this, specifically that bluish teal, comes through. And when details like this come through, it's for a reason. It could be that your favorite color might be teal or turquoise or blue or bluish green or seafoam green or something like that. If you've ever been pulled towards that color, like, oh, I want my wall like Tiffany blue or something like that. And if not, that's fine. But just connect how you can with that. And with the hair thing, I don't know if your hair is important to you or you consider that your hair is your favorite feature, perhaps, or yeah, just connect with the hair because that's just a detail coming through. This could be the opposite where if you chose to come in and let's say you actually have hair loss issues or something with your hair where you're not fond of it, it would be to experience the experience of not having the feature that this aspect it highly prizes, we can say. So it would be to go through life lacking in something that your soul has previously thought of to be a winning feature, which in itself can cause a feeling of missing something, a link, or the thing we were talking about before. So that's how you could also make connections. So make connections with the hair thing however you can, the teal blue color. There's something about this person where when I said like the nose shirt and the weapon thing, it feels almost like what we would consider like like a Native American, but not. Definitely not, but the vibe of just like feeling at home in the body with the weapon, which is like another limb, and just like a piece, like there's a book coming to mind. There's a book called The Peaceful Warrior. I think it's popular too in like the spiritual community or whatever. But that's the term coming to mind, is the peaceful warrior. However you might connect with that, it would indicate, it has the feeling of someone who is a martial artist and who holds back until provoked in a way where, you know, it's like they don't let anyone know that they are a master at their craft or their skill of martial arts until they're provoked and they are put in harm's way, and then they react. So it's the peaceful warrior, like, don't do harm to others, but do what you gotta do if you have to, like, save your own life kind of thing. So that's what's coming through here. Keep making connections with this however you can. You might even just, that philosophy itself might be a connection with you. Like you might vibe with that philosophy, like the peaceful warrior philosophy. I mean, heck, it might be a kind of thing where you want to look into the book and maybe read the book or read about the book and see if it draws you in. The idea of being in tune with the self, this could be in your current life that you are looking to become way more in tune and aligned with yourself. In the case that you feel like you are lacking that, this person's very in tune and balanced, which means, by the way, if you ever feel like, oh, I wish I was more in tune or aligned or grounded in the way this guy is, all you have to do is basically just quiet your mind and imagine yourself just tuning into this aspect of your soul. And it could be a visualization, it could be a feeling, it could be anything, but tune in and tap in and imagine yourself kind of drawing the energy to you. You're not drawing energy away from him when you do that. You're drawing the energy to you. Energy is never lost, it's just transferred, or transmuted. And you can feel more aligned when you tune in to the alignment that this aspect of your soul feels, because it's all your oversoul. So just something to consider. Okay, so with the majority of his time though, this card here is the hunter and provider card. And so the feeling of like having his weapon and like this strap across his chest or whatever feels like, also this person feels like they are mobile a lot. It just feels like this person is like a walker, like just always like moving. So you yourself might feel like you can't sit still, or it might bother you to be still for very long. Like having a sedentary kind of job at a desk might just be very defeating feeling to you. This would indicate, a direct connection would indicate that you would do well being more mobile, and it would also, I feel like, clear your mind and make you feel better in various ways. And align, and even more so if you are to be someone that's walking, let's say outside, bare feet, on the ground, in the grass, whatever, with nature, that might be very helpful. And that's why this may be coming through for you, in case you know that you need to move more or get your feet on the ground more. Okay, let's see what else. So as far as this card, let's see. There's something about what he's doing in this place, and the place now with the landscape, it feels like there are various terrains, but he is being presented on a terrain that is like a desert. And I want to say that was not always the case. I want to say that where he's walking, the desert is not the kind of desert that is the beautiful, thriving desert. It feels like it's one of those caked ground, dried up soil desert that is indicative of a dying planet. Quite frankly, that's what this feels like. How you might connect with this could be that you might be someone that needs to be where there are trees, lush garden stuff, where things are thriving and alive. That might be it, like that might make you very happy. It could be that when you see or read about or hear about or whatever parts of planet Earth that are dying, like climate change, or like, you know, when you see those things where it's like, oh, this iceberg used to be 3 times its size and look at it now, and they do the comparison thing. If that triggers you and that makes you emotional and that makes you feel really bad, I mean, I know a lot of people do not want to see that, like I get it, but this kind of thing would be when it comes to Earth or natural things like dying off, becoming smaller, becoming less of what it once was. if that hits an emotional button with you, that is a connection, because I feel like this aspect is walking, and there's something about him looking for, almost like looking for resources, because the hunter provider card is like he wants to provide resources, but he's also something about him keeping an eye out for any more, what's the word, like detrimental things happening to the land. It almost feels like this place we're in, there's something about earthquakes, like it's almost like the ground shakes and it cracks, and I don't know, it's interesting. It's 11:11 on the clock right now. So however you might connect with that, it could be that you don't like the desert. It could be that you are pulled to the desert for some feeling, some reason, but there's something about the caked earth. It's almost the feeling too, what's weirdly coming through is the idea of like, I'm hearing like, well, how was the Grand Canyon formed? And then it's like, there's this vision in my head of, well, like this, and then it shows how it was just like earth, and then the cracks started, and then the cracks deepened, and then the crevices grew or whatever, and then it just became spread out in crevices and stuff. And I don't know if that's what happened. That's not my, I'm not in the science field, but that's what it's showing me. So I almost want to say that that's being brought up because where he is here is he's looking for like a deepening of the decay of the planet, that, and it would look like cracks in the earth starting to spread and get deep into crevices, almost like forming their own Grand Canyon here, if that makes sense. So any connection, by the way, you can have with the Grand Canyon, if it's somewhere you always wanted to visit, if it's something you like to see in photographs, if you feel pulled to it, if it does something to you emotionally. Again, we're looking for emotions here. However you might connect with that. If not, that's totally fine. We're also looking though at an aspect of you that is very resourceful. So this could indicate very much in your current life that you are very resourceful, or you might, it's almost the feeling of someone who would collect things in bulk just in case. Almost like because there's scarcity here, you might in your current life be someone who's focused on your scarcity, even if you're not aware of it. You want to check in with yourself and see where this might be, if there is any. And it would come in the form of looking like buying things in bulk, just in case. Do you know what I mean? So that's the feeling here. And if not, that's fine, but that's what this would be like. And that would also indicate like resourcefulness as well, but it can also be that you're resourceful in coming up with solutions. You know, it doesn't mean you have to like be resourceful as in presenting the meat to the family every night. It's not that kind of thing, unless you do. But connect how you can with that. I do want to touch base because it keeps coming through, is this like strap with a weapon. If you have considered taking up a new hobby, and you don't know where to go, or maybe if you've considered this already, to walk in the direction of like a, I hate to say it, like a weapon, but like things like something that you would hold that could be utilized as a weapon, but also like today would be like a hobby. So almost like, again, it could be martial arts and you're drawn to that, but it's the weapons in martial arts, like the staff, or fencing kind of thing, like sword fighting, or because this, the weapon, it feels like it's something that is like larger and like broader, not like ninja stars, like not like that, you know. It'd be like something you hold. So that's why I'm like fencing or archery, even like bow and arrow, just something you hold that's bigger than like, you know, little ninja stars or whatever. I know I keep saying that, but anyway, so however you might connect with that. Now if you haven't considered that, and you're just, and you might be in a place where you're like, I want a new hobby, I want to pick up a skill, look into that and see if it's intriguing to you. Even if you've never considered it before, pick up a bow and arrow, or pick up, you know, fence, like try a fencing, like just go, like see if there's like a free class near you, you know what I mean? Or even martial arts if you haven't. That might be really interesting, because there's something about having a hobby that's practical and also aligns you and puts you in tune with your body more, because it feels like this aspect was just very in tune with their body, like just very aligned. So this may be coming through just for you, like as far as like maybe that is what you are needing in the case that you do not feel grounded, or if you feel uncertain, or next step. It could be because you're not quite in alignment with yourself. and you just might need to get in alignment. And oftentimes to do that, we need to get into our bodies. People think, oh, alignment, I need to like meditate and go zen in my mind. And it's like, yeah, the mind is part of it, but you want to align all your bodies, as in your mental body, emotional body, and physical body. Just a food for thought thing there, just in case that clicks in some way with you, okay? So let's go ahead and move to the first important day. So keep making connections where you can up here, and we're gonna go down here to the Enlightenment card, okay? So when we get the Enlightenment card, it's a moment of, it's like an aha moment. It's a leveling up kind of thing. The relationship involved is family, and the feelings is proud or pride. So I feel like what we're looking at, I'm looking through the point of view of this aspect of you as he is gazing upon his family, and there is at least a mate and 2 young children. And there's something about the kids where specifically the color, that teal color, has not fully come in. So we're learning here that the color deepens with age, and it feels like almost emotional maturity. The color will deepen. And it feels like the 2 kids are playing with each other. They both feel like what we would consider little boys. I'm not really sure how they, do the gender thing there, but it feels like 2 little masculine energies. And the mate, it's interesting that it's a feminine energy, but it's the kind of, so it's the kind of thing where you hear about in a lion pride, where the females do all the work, and the females are really like, they're the backbone of the pride. Oh, and the pride. Oh, the pride. Yeah. Okay, this is so cool. Okay, so I think we're looking at Lyrans, because this is very like it's connecting in the way of like lions and a lion's pride, and okay, cool. So anyway, it feels like she is very strong, and I almost want to say more emotionally strong than this guy, where this guy's strength lies in his balance and ability to hold space for the feminine. So we're looking at a divine masculine, essentially, for lack of better words, is what this feels like, and the divine feminine here. And we're looking at a lovely pairing. This is really nice. Okay, so what this feels like in regards to your current life, it can go a few ways here. Ready? So it feels like if you're in a relationship and it's not going great, it would likely be because your partner does not know how to hold space for you on a deeper emotional level. Yes. And now if you're in a relationship and it's going well, it's likely that you have found a partner who knows how to hold space for you, and who knows how to just, again, like kind of be there with whatever emotional ranges or phases that you go through. In fact, not just to hold space, but also encourages the expression of it. If you are not in a relationship, you are looking for the energy that we talked about before, the energy where it holds space for you, and it's very comfortable, easygoing, non-judgmental. And even if it's the kind of thing where even if as you accelerate through your awakening, let's say this partner isn't at the same, we'll say, spiritual level, in a sense of just like interest-wise, like maybe they're just not into the language of it or whatever. It doesn't matter, because they would still want you to develop and grow and express yourself, and they would take pleasure in your growth. And in turn, that's how they grow, is by holding space and being there and being that counterpart for you, even if they're not, let's say, as gifted or something like that, right? So in a way, it's like being on the same page and not, and it's okay to be in a partnership where everyone has different strengths and they're growing at different they're growing at different levels, but you're in the same book, in the same chapter. You just might be in different pages or something, you know what I mean? But it's in the same book. And so just connect with that however you can. But this is speaking of a very like lovely, balanced union. But again, it's not equal. Each person has roles and tasks, and also the idea is coming through for you to consider the idea that someone's role in a relationship may literally be just to be emotionally tuned in. So someone could be the breadwinner, so to speak, provide, like pay the rent and do all the stuff and blah, 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 blah. And that could be their role. And what they do emotionally would be the space holder, hold space and not judge and love. And the other person's role could literally just be to be the emotional expression of the union. So I feel like this might be coming up it's more about food for thought, like to give you an idea. And you might like totally already know this and that's your cup of tea or whatever, but if not, this would be the idea of expanding your mind or definition of what an equal partnership looks like, because there's like just what's coming through is the many examples we always hear about where people feel like they have to be like, what is it? You know how they say like opposites attract, or being the same, the very same is really good. It's like, no. Like you can be very different, but have a similar kind of vein running through the middle where that's where you meet. And that's the fusing cord that holds you together, and it's enough. Just that, like a concept of redefining what is okay for a relationship to look like, in the idea of looking at how you were programmed or taught growing up, or are even still told by people around you or in the media or whatever what is proper, rather than tuning into yourself and realizing I'm happy. We have very different roles. We're quite different, but we're similar in the ways that matter, and that's all that matters. You know what I mean? So it's about you knowing you have the power to redefine what happy relationship or a lasting relationship or a good relationship, whatever it is, means to you. And I feel like that's just coming through for you to also look at other things in your life where you may have been influenced, either growing up or still influenced, to think a certain way that may affect you, like the supposed to's in life. That's what I feel like is coming through, is like check in with yourself, what you're doing with your life in various areas of it, and are you doing those things according to what you are supposed to be doing, or are you doing them because you feel like they are conducive to a happy reality that you want for your life, if that makes sense. I feel like, just like in a nutshell, it's about you understanding that you do have the power to create your own reality. You really do. It's not metaphorical when you hear that. It's literal. And I guess we're talking about manifestation in that way. And that's where it comes back around to what's coming through, is that we were talking about before about aligning the mental, emotional, and physical bodies. And when you do that, that's when your power kicks in big time. When you're all aligned in those, all tapped into those three, then manifestation becomes very quick, and things shift very quickly. So just a thought to consider in case you were even wondering about manifestation or shifting your reality, shifting timelines, wanting something different for your life or in your life, that kind of thing. All right. But I feel like before we leave this day, hold on, there's more to it. Looking at the family, because I want to get okay, enlightenment, what's going on? It could be that I feel like the enlightenment card is just based on what we were just talking about, as far as for your own enlightenment, based on this simple example of looking at this family and diving into the emotional aspects of the family, but also, even the kids not having that full hue, that teal hue, until they become emotionally aligned. And I feel like there's something in that, something about when it comes to you being aligned, almost like you will feel, okay, wait. You know how they say people show their true colors? That could be how you might connect with that. First of all, connect however you can with that, just in the case you've heard that lately, or it's applying to your life in some way when someone shows their true colors. And now another thing is, when they say that, usually it's in a negative connotation, like, oh, they're showing their true colors, they're really jerks or whatever, but this is also a different message of, I want to say, it's like the feeling of how you look at the world when you are out of alignment and being influenced by exterior forces looks lackluster in comparison when you are in alignment and tuning into yourself and using your own internal navigation system to guide you in life. The world becomes more colorful. It's almost like because the possibilities become different and vast versus the possibilities that come from old programs and what others expect from you. Okay? So it's almost like when you empower yourself by stepping into your best when you step into your most aligned version and start cutting out the external noise, it's almost like I want to say you will see the world in more vivid color, like literally. And maybe you've experienced this already. Like maybe that's what you're actually going through and you can understand that already. If not, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because this is what I feel like, this is where we're moving. Like this is like a goal we want to move towards, is making the world more colorful. Okay? Let's see. Oh, and this can also, the most random thing, just the most random thing, if you were thinking of dyeing your hair a different color. Like that kind of thing. Like if you want to play with color, if you love color, if you have the thing where you can see more in-depth color than other people, because there's a thing where some people have the ability to see like the very like subtle variances in blue. Like there might be like, you know what I mean? However, color actually might just connect with your current life. You know, you would just want to make connections with that because color here is it's very present. And then the last thing here is the idea that because we're seeing a civilization where the youth are not fully color and then they grow into color when they are emotionally matured, this could very well mean, Eliza, that you might have the ability, like a very natural ability, to read people and their intentions. And if you doubt it, but if you feel like, oh yeah, I've felt that way, or I feel that way, or that's possible. If you doubt it, like if you're like, oh, it's just my imagination, there's no way, it would feel like you're literally reading their internal, like their mind or something like that, where they might say something, but you feel like it's completely like either a lie or completely different. The doubt and if you doubt yourself at all, that's your ego. It feels like you would definitely be someone that reads people, like you can see past the surface because of how the colors and emotions play with each other here. So I feel like if you're wondering what gifts or abilities you have, which you might be already aware of many that you have, but if you haven't tapped into this idea, you might want to go ahead and start paying attention and seeing what happens. You don't have to force anything. This would be very natural. Just don't doubt it when it does happen, that you find that you are, it's almost like hearing someone say something, even though they're speaking something else, you might hear it different, if that makes sense. And people would call it, you're reading into something. No, that's your intuitive ability tapping in and like really getting the energetic language instead, which is more reliable, quite frankly, when it comes to you making decisions for yourself. Okay? Okay, so anyway, keep making connections where you can with this day, and we're gonna go to the next important day. So here we have the trauma card. So usually it's like we're witnessing a trauma or going through a trauma. Here we have the friends card for relationships, and then here we have the disappointment card for the feelings. So I'm just seeing what we got going on here. Okay, so the feeling coming across is a group of, we'll say a community that feels, it's kind of like the feeling of not knowing what to do, and almost like a feeling of defeat, and it's linking me to the cracked earth desert type planet. And it feels like we're in a place where resources are nil or none, and it's almost like there has to be a decision made. And it feels like there's something about people saying let's leave, others saying let's stay and make it work. It's almost like this idea of like people who want to stay and make it work, they think that they're going to like strike, like they're going to like, it's almost like they think they're going to find a hidden valley with tons of food and resources and water, and you know what I mean? It's almost like they're like holding on to a false hope. And then the other group is like, we need to go. Like, what are we waiting for? You're living, you know, that's a fantasy. This is what's in front of our face right now. Like, there's nothing here. So I feel like there's something about it. Honestly, it feels linked in the way that we look at like political parties here on Earth, where it's like, you know, no one is right. Just like religions, no one is right. There's not one right anything, but there is one that is a bit more illogical and kind of like, it just feels like there's the ones that want to stay because they'll strike, you know, there's something about being hopeful realistically and then being hopeful in a way that's detrimental and may kill off a population. And it's like they're just not accepting the truth that their home is no longer viable. So how you might connect with this, I would feel mostly has to do with certain people that you might be in touch with that I feel may not align with who you are or what you believe anymore, or almost like what they do or what they think or believe puts you in a compromised position. So like an example would be, it's like, I feel like an example would be family, because family is so hard to like say no to or separate from or leave them to their own devices if it means that they are going to be going through a harsh reality, if that makes sense. But this indicates fully the feeling that you need to do what's right for you and what's best for you, that you cannot save the world, and by that I mean save others. Like, people have lessons for a reason. So if somebody that you know and love, if they're choosing to be blind to certain truths and continue on in a way that would ultimately be detrimental, I want to say, to your emotional peace of mind, you need to cut ties. And it might be really hard because, again, this feeling feels like family or someone really close, or even like a longtime friend since childhood that you've never thought you would ever, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, those are the hardest lessons, but you have to understand that when it comes to that time where we do have to say goodbye to some people in order to save our own peace of mind and to continue to meet our potential in our growth, that's you and them having a soul contract where you are meant to go through this emotional hardship of going back and forth of, should I leave? Should I not? Should I cut ties? Should I not? How can I? I was taught that family is everything, but I need to, because I need to move forward with my spiritual journey. You know, that kind of thing. That's a soul contract, the back and forth. But your job in the soul contract is going to be that your lesson is likely to create boundaries and move forward for yourself. And that's, I say likely, but that's the case. It's always about your self-growth and self-love. All right? Understanding that the people that are trying to hold you back, even if they don't try to hold you back, it's just their own belief system doing it. That you do not owe them to stay small and not change just to make them feel more comfortable. Okay? That kind of thing. So connect however you can. And do understand that these decisions are not supposed to be easy, okay? Now, if anyone comes to mind when we're talking about this, that's them. And it doesn't have to be family. But, you know, if someone comes to mind, trust it's them. If no one comes to mind, tuck in the back of your mind for a later time. Because these kinds of soul contracts, I want to say almost every single person I come across has a soul contract where they eventually need to create boundaries and say goodbye. And oftentimes it's romantic relationships. Those are the easiest kind, where when they go awry, it's time to say goodbye, like that kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be romantic either. It could be a friendship. It can be anything. It could even be a colleague. If you're working somewhere forever and you just don't get along anymore and you're like, this is not a safe space or a good environment for my peace of mind, that, you know what I mean? So it really comes down to your peace of mind, and if you are feeling like any external influences are limiting or blocking your growth. And by that, it's you feeling a pull that you can become a better version of yourself if you were allowed to move forward with expanding and changing who you are, how you express yourself, you know, that kind of thing. But there might be people who you feel like don't make it easy for you to do that, that's them. That's where the soul contract is, okay? So just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean you have to say goodbye forever, you know, but it does mean that when you distance yourself from these people, you are protecting your energy field, and you have every right to do that. And people might say you're being selfish, and that's for you to be like, okay, fine. Call it selfish, I don't care. I'm gonna prioritize my life, my peace of mind, my self-love, all that good stuff. And you'll find that people who encourage that for you and people who want that for you will have no problem with you doing that. And you'll find more people coming to you, becoming friends, things like that when you do that, when you prioritize yourself. And who knows, maybe you're already doing it, but that's what this feels like here, is there is a split faction and decisions have to be made, and you are the faction that we need to go now, because you're also someone that's out there looking at this stuff daily. And if there was some hidden valley with all the resources, you would have found it by now. And it's a lost hope. It's that kind of thing, which, by the way, another connection could simply be a message of do not delude yourself and do not stay in denial about certain things. So if you are in denial about certain things, in the sense of, it's the kind of thought of, oh, they'll change. Oh, they'll come to their senses. I'll give them another month. If I tell them this, they'll have to see the truth. Like that kind of thing. If you feel yourself like thinking that kind of thing, that's kind of a cue for you to start focusing more on you. But it does feel like this aspect of you is like, we're out of here. Like you, your family, and the people who are like, we need to go. And you're disappointed with the amount of people who are so stuck in their false hope that they're not allowing reality to hit them because they don't want to change. And that change is scary, but also understand that everyone goes at their own pace when it comes to their awakening. You might be disappointed, but ultimately you have to, if it takes like moving away from people or situations, understand they're learning their lesson, you learn yours. I want to say to stick with something is almost like enabling others not to learn their lesson, because you don't even know what you could be teaching others simply by choosing yourself. You could be waking people up, if that makes sense. Yes, so if you find that you find yourself in a situation like this with people or whatever it might be, again, I would encourage you to choose yourself and ignore what people might say about it being selfish or you know, just whatever. You're on your own journey and you need to choose you. What is going on here? Oh, this can also indicate if you are considering moving, if you've been considering moving, you know what I mean? Or you might be in the modes of moving, or it might be coming up. And in the case that you're considering, like, you know, geographically moving or moving a job or that kind of thing, always just come down to what you feel is best for you and the reasons behind why you wouldn't move. So if you feel like, I don't want to make this change because, and then it follows with something that is more fear-based or false hope, that's your cue to be self-aware and see that you're kind of using excuses to hold yourself back, and you don't want to do that, okay? And I'm not saying you're someone in denial and you're using excuses. I'm not saying you are like that, but we are human beings and we do that because it's uncomfortable to change. For most people, change is very uncomfortable and scary. So if you find yourself using reasons that are fear-based or have a false hope, again, I know I'm repeating myself, that is your cue though to be aware and go, oh, I'm doing that thing. Okay, wait, let's take a step back and really look at this, you know, objectively, all right? So keep making connections where you can with that, all right? But the disappointment comes in with the false hope. So it could be that you in your current life, you're just seeing a lot of people carry on with no backing or like no evidence to why they think a certain way. That could be very frustrating to you, especially, you know, with everything going on now. We're seeing a lot of people like that. So if you find yourself kind of in the crossfire of that, it would be your job to remove yourself. You don't need to be in that. You need to find peace of mind. Which I know might be easier said than done, but any step you can take towards your peace of mind is a step in the right direction, okay? All right, so it feels like you guys leave. I feel like there's transport available to you, even though it looks like what we would consider more primitive, like the weapon, no shirt, feet on the ground kind of thing. It feels like, as far as transportation, going off-world or whatever it might be is not an issue here. It's not like they're stuck there. It's just that that's their home, and that's the home of their ancestors, and that's why there's a big, there are even some like hardcore believers who are like, I will die here willingly because it's the home of my ancestors. But then it's like, you think like, well, I don't think your ancestors would want you to die just to like, you know, for an honorable thought about dead people. You know what I mean? It's like breaking down the logic there. It's like your ancestors would actually want you to thrive and do what it takes to carry on the lineage, right? So we are, again, the feeling of being around people in your current life that are thinking falsely. Like they're thinking like nonsensically, you know, or it's just like almost like they've always thought this way, so they're going to keep thinking that way, even if it doesn't make sense. I think we would equate this to people who are kind of religious or religiously zealously religious, or whatever you might think, where they're just so narrow-minded in that sense. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's their journey, you know, but it doesn't have to be yours. So anyway, keep making connections where you can here. We're going to the death card now. This is the water card. So what this right away, what comes through is you guys went off planet to another place, and this place is abundant in resources. It's like you entered the Garden of Eden. It's like, I have chills right now because this place is like so lush and beautiful and amazing. It might be the beginning of Earth. Like, I know the beginning of Earth sounds weird. I want to say pre-human Earth, like completely lush. Again, Garden of Eden comes through. So this might be where you transfer over. This might be you guys coming to Earth, quite frankly, you know, way back. And when you pass away, you decide to come back and reincarnate on the same planet. And to do that, it means being human and not a teal colored cat, you know, because that might stand out. But keep making connections with that however you can. But this does, to me, this is a very hopeful card, like in the sense of like, if this is your death and it's at a lush place and it's because you know you've aged and your whole life has been, it just turned out really beautiful. It's because you made all these decisions based on, I want to say, following your gut, not sticking to what was, I want to say, like, not sticking to like the other faction. They're just like, we're gonna die here because our ancestors were here. Like, you broke away from traditional thinking here in a sense. And it took you to, I want to say, for lack of better words, to the promised land or the promised planet, right? So I feel like we're looking at, that's how you got to Earth. But you did it because you made the right decisions and broke away from the traditional notions of what you were expected to think based on your ancestral lineage, you know, like that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind and keep making connections where you can with that. And we are going to go ahead to the lesson card. The enlightenment card here, this is the breakaway. This represents the breakaway from traditional notion, choosing what is right for you and your family, and to survive and to thrive and to grow and to prosper. And you had to break away from very traditional, not just traditional notions and ideas and how you were raised, but also from the people you've always known, and understand that you are never going to see them again. At least like not in physical whatever, that these people that chose to stay here and stick with it, and yes, they do die out, but it's like you're never going to see them again, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal to cut people out and to, you know, but you have to choose you, and there's great growth, enlightenment. That was the soul contract, and it was met. This lesson was learned, and it brought you here. And I have goosebumps because this feels so good, and I feel like there's like, I feel like the word prosperous is coming through, because I feel like that is what is coming to you. If you're not there yet, it's like coming, it feels very around the corner kind of thing. The prosperous abundance in whatever way that might mean. It could be financial, it could be love, it could be, honestly, at the very least, it feels like we're looking at someone, you, who's going to be stepping into great alignment with yourself and be in tune in a way you have never felt before. And if you're like, even right now, if you feel like you're in tune, I feel like there's going to be a crystallization of your intuitiveness coming, which is going to feel, I want to say, slightly magical. So enjoy that ride. But keep making connections where you can, because the enlightenment card, when that pops up, it's not stopping. You're still leveling up, and it's a good thing. So keep that in mind. But here is your Starseed reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to make some connections here, and thanks for letting me read you.